Alright folks, in a previous video I showed you how to spline trace things, either for creating laser cutouts and stickers or wood or anything else really. But now for this video I'm going to show you how to turn this Bayesian lake into the actual depth map so that we have each depth on its own separate sheet of material, and then those are all, make sure they're all centered and so they all line up like they're supposed to. Alright, so what I did here is I traced the outside spline and I traced a few of the inside contours. You'll have to finish yours obviously, but I'm just trying to save a little bit of time, and so I didn't do all of them. But pick a certain depth that you want to go with, every 8, every 9, every 12, every 15, every 20 feet, depending on how deep your lake is. And then you roughly want to be about 6 layers on this. So a bottom layer and then 5 or so upper layers. And so make sure you don't have too many layers so we use too much material. So limit yourself to about 6 pieces of material. That'll come into play more, and I'll explain more about that in a little bit. But what we want to do here is we want to first start by taking this map and scaling it correctly to our size. So our size for our material that I'm going to give you is 12 by 15 inches. And so I'm going to draw that here. I'm going to take and click. Oop, that's my center point. I want to do that. Corner rectangle. And I want to draw that 12 by 15. And so this is the size stock I'm giving you, but I don't want to make it to the exact extents of this stock. I want to make it a little bit smaller so that I can have a nice clean laser cut outline going around this. And so I'm going to draw a line down the center, and then I'm going to click my center point rectangle so I can center a rectangle in this rectangle. This second rectangle is going to be 14.5 by 11.5. You can do whatever orientation you want. I'm choosing to go portrait here just because that's the way that I want this to go. You do not need to use the full 11.5 by 15. You can make it smaller, but you can't make it any larger. This is the max. Okay. I'm then going to delete this diagonal line. Next thing I want to do is I want to move this map to the inside of my stock here. So I'm going to take and drag the splines and the map up to this point. And so to do that, I'm going to use the transform command, which is in the linear patterns drop down. So selecting transform, grabbing all the stuff I want to move, and then the transform will give you these options here to scale and to move. I'm going to take and grab this box here and just slide it to snap into this corner. And then once I click, it will move everything with the map and the splines. Okay, I want to make this 3.7539. I want to make that exactly 11.5 inches, so I need to figure out a ratio. So I need to figure out exactly how much to scale this up. Alright, so I wrote the ratio out here. It's 3.75387 over 1, because right now it's full size, so it's full scale. And I want to figure out how big to make it if it's 11.5 inches, so I'm solving for x. So cross multiply 1 times 11.5 divided by our size here. And so I'm going to get my calculator. So 11.5 times 1 is 11.5. And now I want to divide by 3.75387. And that equals 3.0635. Okay, so that's what I'm going to use for my scaling up, 3.0635. So now when I'm doing the scaling up, I'm going to use the transform command again. I'm going to start scaling it, so just dragging this out, and then I'm going to take and click in here, and I'm 3.0635 is my size. Hit enter, and then click, and it moves the map to that size and makes it exactly 11.5 inches. Alright, I can move it up. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep this size and keep the map this size, and I'm just going to add a label like Bayesian Lake, East Haddam, Connecticut. And so what I want to do is I want to move this up now, so I have room at the top and room at the bottom for my text. Okay, so again, another transform. I take and grab this. I may have to deselect. Okay, I can type in an exact amount that I want to move it, or I can eyeball it. I got enough room up here to write Basin Lake and enough room down here to write East Adam, Connecticut, so I'm going to say okay to that. I'll move it up exactly 2 inches, so it's not just this random. Okay, so move it up 2 inches, say okay. And now it's moved in here. I don't really need this map anymore. If I was done tracing it, I wouldn't need the map, so I'm gonna take and I will delete that map out of there. Okay, so this is all we're going to need. I'll get rid of this line as well. Redraw it down here. Alright, so basically we have our outside box is our stock, our inside box is the actual size we're going to make this, and then I have my map here. So what you need to do is you need to make a copy of this, of all of this, for every layer. Alright, and so the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to come down here to Part Studio 1. I'm going to rename it, and I'm going to say call it Layer 1. And then I want to right click on here, duplicate, which makes layer 1 copy 1. I'm going to duplicate that again. And so I'm just going to keep going through here, and I'm going to duplicate this for every copy that I need, and then I'll go back and I'll rename them. Okay, and so layer 1 is this, layer 2. What I think I have to do is I have to say okay to that sketch. And now if I go here, I didn't make a copy of it because I copied it before I approved the sketch. Okay, so live and learn. So I'm going to delete these. Let's just do a check here. Duplicate this. Yeah, that's better. So make sure you approve the sketch. Say okay before you make your copies. So I got to go here and I got to delete all these extra copies. Just the little things. And now I'm going to duplicate these for each one. Doesn't matter which ones you duplicate because they're all exactly the same. I'm just clicking on any of them here and duplicating them. And so now if I go back through and check any of these layers, they're all exactly the same. So layer 1 will be the bottom layer. Okay? And so on the bottom layer, the only thing I need is an engraving of this bottom piece. Okay, so I will go into the sketch and I'm going to delete everything I don't need. So clicking on this spline and deleting it. There it is. Click on the spline, delete it. Click on the spline, delete it. Click on the spline and delete it. Okay. So that's going to cut this out, and it's going to cut this part out, and so you're going to see through to the bottom layer. So I'm going to call this layer right here 1. So rename to layer 1. It is already. I'm going to take this layer here, open this up, open the sketch, go to my top view. I'm going to delete. Oops, there we go. Click on the spline. There we go. Delete. 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 So I'm erasing everything. So now I just have an 11.5 by 15 that it's cutting out. I need a back. Okay, so I'm going to rename this to my back. Alright, and then I'm going to take this layer here, and this is going to be layer 2. So I'm going to go to my top, open up the sketch, and I'm just deleting, delete, delete, and you can get rid of this too. You can leave this, but it's going to be extra cutting, and so now it's going to cut that out. And so now this is, rename it, layer 2. So I'm going to put my back down once it gets cut out, and then I'm going to put layer 1 down, and they're all going to line up along the outside because they're all exactly in the same location and exactly the same size. So the back is down, then I'm going to put layer 1, then I'm going to put layer 2, and then I'm going to put layer 3, which again, if I go to my sketch, top view, I'm going to get rid of, I can get rid of the inside. So this is layer 3, rename this. Alright, and so it's just doing that for as many layers as you have. So I have a back, and so right now I have 4. I'm going to go to do one more here because that's all I have. Open that up. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete all of this. And this would be layer 4. Again, I know I missed a lot of them. I would have layers 4, 5, and 6 here if I had more, but I'm just going to rename this as layer 4 or top layer. Okay, on the top layer, if you wanted to have other things, you would have to put those other things. Okay, likely going to have islands in here, so I would have to. It's usually shallow right around the island, so I'd have to trace my islands, which I forgot to do on this one. I also need to add, if I'm going to put any roads in, I would want to trace those roads for the top. And this top layer, I'm going to also have any font or any wording that I want to have. Okay, so I would go in here and I would type in what I want. You can do the typing in Corel, which is going to be our next software that we use to bring this in and control the laser. Corel does a lot better job with fonts and has a lot more options, and so I will show you that when we bring it into Corel to laser cut it. But you need a layer, you need a back, then you need layers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 if you have up to 6. And then what you need to do is we need to export each of those as a DXF. Okay. So once I have all these done, I'm going to say OK. I'm going to approve each one of these sketches. Make sure it's good to go. And then I'm going to take and right click and I'm going to export. Okay, this is getting in my way. Export. Oops, nope, sorry. At the sketch, right click. Export, DXF. So I want to say back. I'm going to call this Bashan Lake back. And I'm going to say export. It's going to go into my downloads. Okay, then I'm going to go to layer 1. I'm going to right click on the sketch, export. I'm going to say Bashan Lake, layer 1. Make sure you're naming everything so you know what it is and how to deal with it. So export there. And then I'm just going to do the top layer as well, and then I'm going to show you what I'm going to do with these. So I'm going to go open up my top layer, export, Bashan Lake. Okay, so I'm exporting these as DXFs. Okay, and then what I'm going to do next is I'm going to open up CorelDRAW. Okay, open up CorelDRAW. Just say skip this part. I had a power outage over the weekend, so all my software crashed when the power went out. Alright, so now that I'm in Corel, I'm going to go to a new document. The document has to be 37.795 by 24.016. That's the size of our laser, so we're going to say OK to that. I'm going to call this Bashan Lake map. Okay, I'll say OK. Now I need to have a different cutout for each one of these. So you're doing this for each one of your layers. Alright, so I'm going to do File, Open, go to my downloads. I'm going to make sure I'm selecting for DXFs. Alright, it took a minute, but I'm going to do the top layer first. And I'll say Open. Alright, again, so 37.795 by 24.016. Is the laser size. Okay, and this is how big it is compared. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take and I'm going to move this to the very top corner. Make sure it's as close as I can get it without going over. Okay, so zooming in there. That's as close as I can get it without going over. Okay, first thing I want to do is I want to delete this outer box now. I located this box in the corner, now I'm deleting it. I was using that for my placement. Alright, and now anything on here I want to be cut out needs to be red. So I'm going to take and I'm going to select. And if this properties box isn't up for you, you just go to Objects and you come over down here to Properties and select that, and then you get this box. If you don't see it, you want to turn that on. What I want to do is I want to make sure I'm using RGB colors. It yells at me sometimes. I want to be RGB and I want to be red. I want to be 255 red. Make sure it's all the way in the corner there. Red. I'm going to select all of this stuff because it's all getting cut out. Okay. The software is frozen. Give me a second. Okay, so I turned it all red, so that's all going to get cut out. If there's anything that I wanted to engrave in here, I need that to be black. So if you had any roads or anything that were on here, you would color those black. But I want to put some text in here. I want to add some labels. So if this pops up, I don't know why this happens all the time. This is section jog lines is locked or invisible. What you need to do is you need to come over here to your objects, and you need to turn your section jog lines off. I don't know why it defaults to this. That doesn't allow you to work on it, but it does. And so now I can type in Bashan Lake. I can make this as big as I want. I can make it any font I want. Okay, over here. Like that, turn into any font you want. Sure, we'll do that one. And then I'm going to put down here, I'm going to put East Haddam. I'm not spending a lot of time on this, you guys. I'm just trying to show you what you can do. And then down here I'm going to type East Haddam, Connecticut. And again, I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. Try to make it the same font as I made the other one. Bernard. Okay, so this is ready to cut now. I'm going to do my cut settings like we talked about with your last project. I'm going to engrave the Bashan Lake in East Haddam, Connecticut, and then this layer is going to get cut. You're then going to take each of the other layers and bring them into a separate file and do the same thing. Place them in the corner, cut them out. So each one is going to be less and less that it's cutting out because it's getting smaller and smaller as it moves to the middle of the lake. then you'll see we stack these up. We take the back piece that you cut, which should just be cutting out the rectangle. We add that on, and then everything should line up perfectly, and you should have the layers that you need to make this happen. All right. Thank you for watching. I know this was a lot of steps, but I think they're going to come out really nice when we're done with them. I look forward to seeing them. All right. Thank you.